We do have full quorum, so the chair is able to call the meeting to order at any time now.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I call this meeting to order at 4:03 p.m. This is a meeting of the Municipal Elections Compliance Audit Committee for the purpose of considering a request for compliance audit in accordance with Section 8833 of the Municipal Elections Act 1996 as amended. To double check here for attendance purposes. I believe we have. Okay. All members of the committee are present. In addition to committee members present, legal counsel for the committee is in attendance, John Pappas from Aird & Burles LLP. Welcome to the third meeting of the Joint Compliance Audit Committee for the town of Oakville. Do we have any declarations of pecuniary interest or other conflicts of interest for members of the committee in respect to the items on today's agenda? All right. I will need to declare an interest on the first item on today's agenda. One of the referenced legal cases is in respect to the city of Vaughan, to which I am employed, and out of an abundance of caution, I will excuse myself from that matter before the committee today. So, Madam Clerk, I don't know if we have a vice chair to take over, at which point you'd like that done.
Yes. I'm going to ask for a 5-minute recess just to consult with the town clerk. Please just stay tuned for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Not a problem. So we'll just take 5 minutes here for staff to consult, and then we will resume.
Thanks for your patience, everyone. If at all possible, could we ask Karen to step in to chair today? And a script will be coming your way to your email.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Okay. Let me know once you've received the script.
I will.
Oh, I know it's not there because I checked it. That's why I said in the first email, change this. Like
Someone's mic is on.
Should we have?
I think that's, yes, I've received it now. Thank you. So since the meeting has already been called order, then I will proceed. I assume that we have quorum present on the screen, Madam Clerk. Still? Yes. There's Jessica there. Jessica, I just wanted to confirm, since the meeting's already been called to order, that you do see quorum present on the screen before we proceed.
I see all 7 members with the exception of Ryan, who has his camera off right now. That's fine. If anybody else, we have to be able to physically see 4 of you at any given time to have quorum. So please just be mindful if you do have to turn your camera off for a break to make sure there is at least 4 other people on the screen.
So we will now proceed. The purpose of this meeting of the Municipal Election Compliance Audit Committee is for the committee to consider an application for a compliance audit of the 2022 regular municipal election campaign finances of candidate Julia Hanna, outlined on the report, which is before you as item 3.1 on the agenda. In addition, additional documentation received from the candidate within the required timeframes listed as items 3.1.1 on the revised agenda. For the benefit of those in attendance, in accordance with the committee's administrative practices and procedures, the procedures to be followed in the committee's consideration of the application are as follows. 1, the applicant and the candidate will be asked to identify themselves and whether they will be represented by an agent. 2, the applicant or agent may address the committee for no longer than 5 minutes, and the committee will then be permitted to question the applicant or agent. 3, the candidate or agent may address the committee for no longer than 10 minutes. Members of the committee will then be permitted to question the candidate or agent. Number 4, no other delegations are permitted. And number 5, the committee will then deliberate in private on its decision on the application. On concluding its deliberations, the committee will return to an open meeting to advise whether it has reached a decision. Before we proceed, I'll ask that the applicant and the candidate and/or their agents please identify themselves. And so for the applicant, that would be Scott Barber. Is he in attendance or are you represented by an agent?
Hello, Madam Vice Chair. I am not seeing a representative for Scott Barber, or Scott Barber himself has not joined the meeting. So as far as we are concerned, the attendance list today, there is no representative present.
Okay, thank you. And then for the candidate, Julia Hannah, and is there an agent also present, possibly counsel to the candidate, which is John Carlo Mastriangelo? If you could
Yes,
please
members of-
identify yourself and for the committee, please.
Yes, members of the committee, this is John Carlo Mastrangelo, counsel for the respondent. My video has been turned off. If I can have permission to turn that on to introduce myself formally to you this afternoon.
Yes, please.
There we are.
Thank you.
Thank you. And my client, Ms. Hannah, is also in attendance. I believe she has her camera off. But we can take this time if you'd like for me to introduce her
Yes.
to you as well.
Yes,
Okay.
please. do so.
Hi, here I am. Hello, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Since we've now had those introductions, I will now proceed just to confirm that the applicant is no longer present, because at this time they would be given the opportunity to address the committee. So I just want to confirm, Madam Clerk, that there is, again, we do not see them present at this meeting at this time.
As of now, they have not joined. There's been no representative for the applicant. If that changes at any point throughout the meeting and there is a request to join, I will advise you as the chair.
Thank you very much. So we will then proceed now. I will ask the candidate or the agent to present their case, and you do have 10 minutes.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, members of the committee. It's a privilege to appear before you today on behalf of Julia Hannah, who you will know was a candidate for mayor for the town of Oakville in the 2022 municipal election. We have Ms. Hannah here on screen. I've introduced her to you already. Some of you will know Ms. Hannah by reputation as an engaged member of the Oakville community for decades now. She's a restaurateur. She's actively involved as a volunteer in many organizations. And at paragraph 5 of my submission, I've listed out some of the awards that she's received for her community contributions. Ms. Hannah and I would welcome any questions the committee may have at the conclusion of my submission. What the committee has before it today is an application for a compliance audit of Ms. Hannah's financial disclosure in her form for application, which I'll be taking you through today. The committee well knows this is a statutory process under Section 88.33 of the Municipal Elections Act. It has a legal component to it, but it also has a public interest component to it. At paragraph 12 of my submission, I've directed the members of the committee to the De Francesca case of the Ontario Court of Justice. That case sets out the test or the onus that the applicant must meet in order to succeed on his or her application. You must be persuaded, members of the committee, that Mr. Barber has reasonable grounds to believe that there has been a contravention of the Municipal Elections Act. The court made clear this cannot be proven on the basis of conjecture, on speculation, or on a fishing expedition. There has to be something real that the applicant can point to substantiate why their position is reasonable. And we respectfully submit this afternoon, and what I will take you through is that there is not a reasonable basis for Mr. Barber's application. I also mentioned that there's a public interest component to the committee's task today. There's a cost associated with an audit, and there are resources that are invested in an audit on all sides, including Ms. Hannah. So in conjunction with the test in De Francesca, the committee must ask itself, is it in the public interest to order an audit? Our position is that it's not, and I'm going to walk you through that now. Trust the members of the committee have a copy of Mr. Barber's application with them. I'm going to start with his first argument, which has to do with contribution limits, and specifically the discrepancy between the contribution limit in box A and the actual candidate contribution in Schedule 1. What I'm going to do, if the host will let me, is share my screen and point you to some of the excerpts from Ms. Hannah's Form 4 disclosure.
Please proceed.
Thank you. The host has to enable screen sharing.
Madam Clerk, are you able to facilitate the screen sharing?
Yes, we have that now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I have enabled the screen sharing. Thank you.
Many thanks. What I'm taking you to, members of the committee, is an excerpt from my written submission. This is the box A that Mr. Barber is referring to. You will see highlighted in yellow is the contribution limit. It falls next to the spending limit. The spending limit is the maximum amount that the candidate can spend. The contribution limit is the maximum amount that the candidate and the spouse can contribute to the campaign. It's a $25,000 maximum, but not a $25,000 requirement. Now, Mr. Barber refers to a discrepancy between that contribution limit and the actual amount that the candidate and their spouse contributed, which is $16,739.24. You'll see that in the Part 1 summary. The discrepancy is the fact that the candidates didn't contribute the maximum amount. That is not and can never be a violation of the Municipal Elections Act. It's simply that she was allowed to contribute $25,000 and she and her spouse contributed around $16,500. Where does this $16,500 figure come from? Well, if we go into further down, and I'll take you right to the document on page 6 of the Form 4 disclosure, the committee will see a contribution from Brian Hannah in the amount of $16,739.24 on August 16th. That's the source of the contribution from the candidate and her spouse. The suggestion in Mr. Barber's submission that there is an odd amount or that the donation is partially explained, and I say this with respect, simply rests on a misreading of what the form is saying. $25,000 is the limit. Ms. Hannah and her spouse contributed a little more than half of that limit, but not the full amount. And I'll say it again, that cannot possibly be a violation of the Municipal Elections Act. That's Mr. Barber's lead argument. The second argument that Mr. Barber raises has to do with signage. I'm going to take you now to the signage disclosure in Ms. Hannah's Form 4, and the members of the committee will see it highlighted here. $10,026.81 were disclosed on signage. It's a very precise number because the campaign tracked all the expenses very carefully. Now, Mr. Barber suggests that this seems low in his opinion compared to the amount that Ms. Hannah's competitor spent. That's Mr. Burton. I'm going to take you now to Mr. Burton's Form 4 disclosure and highlight his disclosure on signage, which is $15,192.27. We're not talking about a very big discrepancy, something in the order of $5,000. But these numbers have to be viewed in context. Mr. Burton's total campaign income, you will see here, is $172,000. Proportionately, he spent more on signage than Ms. Hannah did.
Excuse me, Council, I'm just going to give you have 2 minutes left.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm gonna move through this a little bit quicker if the committee will indulge me just on the point about the screen sharing. I'll wrap up quickly, but if I can have another minute or so indulgence. The third argument that Mr. Barber raises has to do with office expenses, and the office. He says that Ms. Hannah maintained an office at 700 Per Street. You have my submission that this was not a dedicated office. Ms. Hannah ran her campaign out of her home. They used a boardroom at an Arabic language school on an ad hoc basis, only when needed and only when the space was available. They did not have regular access to this space. They did not have dedicated access to this space. It was only when the space was needed and when it was available. Apart from that, you'll see that all of the office expenses incurred until voting day were tracked and recorded down to the penny. Arguments 4 and 5, you'll have in my submission. Again, everything was recorded. Phone and internet expenses, those were recorded under advertising and data and software. That included the outsourced social media campaign and the outsourced robocalling campaign. Bank charges, again, disclosed in full. Roughly $17.03 in bank account fees, $180 in fees for checks, $768.03 in nation builder fees to process donations made through credit or debit cards. And the final argument.
And I'm going to ask you if you could wrap it up now. Thank you.
The final argument has to do, members of the committee, with reporting individual donors. All the individual donors were named. They were all reported and scheduled to Ms. Hannah's Form 4. You'll find that there. And with that, I would ask the committee respectfully to dismiss Mr. Barber's application. Thank you.
Thank you, Council, for your submissions. I'm going to now turn to the members of the committee to see if they have any questions. And if you could perhaps just raise your hand and then I will call upon you. Again, any questions of the committee members at this time? I'm seeing none. I'm just going to confirm with Madam Clerk at this time that we do not see the applicant or an agent on behalf of the applicant present.
Applicant and no representative for him is currently present.
Thank you very much. Okay, the committee will now deliberate into closed session with respect to this matter, and I need a motion to do so. If I could get a motion, please, to go into close. And I have committee member Melissa Coulson, seconded by Camille. All those in favor? And that is carried. And we do anticipate reporting out within the next 15 minutes. If it's going to be longer than that, then the Madam Clerk will advise those in attendance that we need additional time. Okay, thank you very much.
Committee members, when you see an invitation to join the breakout room, please join. Thank you. Here's that everybody is here.
Everybody is here. Okay, we will proceed. And for the record, I will note that Chair Evan Reed was not present during the closed deliberations, for the record, just so that we could note that. And I want to let everyone know that the committee has now had an opportunity to deliberate on this matter in private, and we'll resume our public portion of this meeting. Our next step will be to call a vote on its decision on this matter, and I'm looking for a mover and a seconder with respect to this matter on the committee's decision. And I have Brian and I have Amarita as a seconder. Be it resolved that the Compliance Audit Committee rejects the application for a compliance audit for the 2022 municipal election campaign finances of Julia Hanna pursuant to subsection 88337 of the Municipal Elections Act. I will now call a vote. All in favor? And for the record, I note that that is carried by all members of the committee. With respect to this matter, brief reasons for this decision are that we found that the grounds were speculative and that the applicant failed to present information to establish grounds for contravention of the act. For those participating in this particular matter, I will let you know that written reasons of the committee's decision will be provided to the applicant and the candidate in the coming days and will also be posted on the town's website. At this time, I will now turn this meeting back over to Chair Evan Reed. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. I'll now move on to item 4.1, other business. The committee will now move into private session for an update from legal counsel. Can I get a mover and seconder to move into closed session, please? Moved by Zach, seconded by Camille. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. So we'll now move into closed session. Madam Clerk, if you could reopen the breakout room, please.
I'll be putting all committee members in a breakout room, and I will just advise Julia Hanna and her legal counsel that their matter is finished, and they're either welcome to stay and sit in the public session, although nothing further will be happening, or you can finish watching on the town's YouTube channel if you wish.
And with that, I will look for, thank you. I'll entertain a motion now to adjourn. So I'm going to have a mover and a seconder to adjourn the meeting. Moved by Melissa, seconded by Zach. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. With all business on this meeting's agenda now concluded, this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you very much.